Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're bringing you a video on your best Warzone settings you can use. We're going to cover things like audio, general settings, your sensitivity, your dead zone, all of these things you might not fully understand, and we're going to go through them and we're going to tell you what's the best option for you and your playstyle. So the first thing everyone needs to know about is audio settings, and audio settings can be the make or break moments in a game of Warzone. And if you don't know this, you need a headset if you want to get the advantage in Warzone. And if you're losing to people and you're wondering why they're able to see you before you come around the corner, and you think, oh, they knew I was coming, or they had hacks or something. They don't. It's just that they can hear your footsteps really easily with headsets, and mainly for PC players. So the difference between a PC player and a console player is most monitors won't have speakers built in, so they need a headset by default, and which this leads them to understand is that footsteps can be heard very easily in this game when you have the right settings. Now, I know a lot of console players wear headsets as well, but if you don't, and you play through your TV, and you see that you're getting killed a lot by random people coming around corners, this is probably one of the major reasons. You cannot hear their footsteps and they can hear yours very clearly, and you're just running around loud as an elephant, and it's easy to spot you. So if you want to fix this, you want to get a headset. First of all, you can find headsets anywhere cheap enough for 30 to 40 euro, but I'll leave that for a different video, a different time, if you want a video on best headsets to get. So let's presume you do have a headset, and we're going to go off the basis that you do now, and you have a decent one, maybe a Turtle Beach or a 30 euro to 40 euro version of a headset that can actually work well with these settings. Now, what settings do you use? And people always jump between two, and it's boost low or boost high, and these are your best options. So boost high is going to boost absolutely everything in the game. Everything becomes supercharged, and your headset's going to be just blaring out sound. Now, boost low will boost the kind of lower amped sounds, the bass sounds. So that's why I go with boost low, because it keeps my headset from making my ears bleed. And I can also hear footsteps very well because they're bass sound, and you can hear them hitting the ground. I leave my master volume on 100 so I can hear everything. I turn down the music to 0 because I don't use the music. Dialogue 71. Sometimes it can help you if you hear someone putting down equipment like a Claymore or C4 or something like that. A character will shout that out like Claymore planted, and you can hear this. Effects volume, you do want this 100%. This goes hand in hand with your master volume. That music doesn't really matter if you use this. Hit marker, I just leave that on the default Modern Warfare one. You can change the sound of it if you want. Going down to the rest of this, these aren't really big matters on your audio. As long as you've got the main section here done, your master volume and your effects up to 100, and you want boost low, you will get used to it. You'll be able to hear people from different directions when you have your headset tuned correctly. One thing I would say, if your friends aren't able to hear you, go to your open mic recording threshold and put this down, because the further it is down, the more your mic will pick up. So if your threshold is too high, this can sometimes lead to people not hearing you correctly. Okay, moving on to general. So generally I play with a controller, and that is what this video is going to be mainly talking about, is controller. But I also play on PC. So I have an Xbox One controller. That is my main controller to play with. So what the benefits of me playing on PC with my controller is I get field of view. So this won't be an option for you if you're a console player, but I want to give you a quick overview of what this does and how it might affect you in game if you run into someone with field of view. So field of view has two options, which is affected and independent. So independent, if you don't already know, it will, when you aim in, your scope will go in at a 80 field of view. So currently mine is 120 field of view, which, as you can see on screen and to your right, shows I can see a lot more than 80. If you're looking where 80 is, that's what you will always see as console player. Never changes 80. With monitors, you can move your field of view. So for example, I can see 120, which can drastically change what I see over what a console player sees. So I have the advantage of seeing someone with 40 field of view more and quicker than someone else. Now, what does affected and independent mean? So affected means when I aim in, I will not go into the original 80 field of view that happens when you aim in with independent. So independent aiming down sight zooms the field of view in to its usual value, which is 80 field of view. But when I'm affected, I will always stay at 120, leaving the scale of my screen the same, which allows me to still see people running around me while I'm aiming at someone, so I can lock on someone else that I've seen come in the side of my screen rather than if I was in 80, I'm kind of in tunnel vision and I can't see around me. Benefit of this is it allows very low visual recoil, and I literally do not get any recoil when I shoot because my gun is showing to me at a wider field of view, and I'm not seeing every little jump and jitter in my gun. Moving on, we have brightness. I leave that at 50. It's kind of in the middle, but I think I should move this up a bit because I think they're changing this all the time. So what you want is you kind of want that. You want it barely visible. You want to be able to see this a little bit. If you can get that to kind of be visible in the middle, then you're okay. You have to be very, very careful with your brightness. You don't want to leave it too bright because you can get absolutely blinded, and you don't leave it too dark because you won't see characters. So you got to be very careful on this side. My horizontal and my vertical heads up hood. This is just how close it shows on screen. It's not really a big problem, but I run mine at 100 each, if that helps. Tooltips not really important. Subtitles not important. Colorblind type. I've seen people change this for the reason of changing the type of colors you see on the map. It can become very well. It's more pleasing to the eye if you change this. It's more vibrant and people can like. So it's up to you if you want to filter through these while in game, just to see the color changes every time you click on each different one. Not even going to try to pronounce the different ones. But you know what I mean. If you want different kind of colors, go for that. But it'll also actually will change your colors. So like red might become orange or something like that. So be careful there. One of the bigger things is the mini map shape. And if you don't know about this by now, you're definitely under a rock if you haven't played this game for longer than like a couple of months. You can change your mini map. So this means you can change your minimap from a circle to a square, and it has been shown and proven that this will actually give you more radius on your map. So change this. It just makes sense. You're able to see people coming in quicker, cars, vehicles, and so on, and red blips and stuff like that. So definitely do this. Rotation I leave on enabled, so I actually move with my map so I know where I'm going rather than keeping it in the same section. So that if I shout north to someone, sometimes I say it, sometimes I don't. It's not going to be that north, or it might confuse someone on my team if they're not using the same kind of rotation as I am if I'm shouting out wrong. Your compass direction text is letters or numbers. That's another preference to you. I go with letters so I can actually call out the general direction. Once again, I have these settings because I have a monitor, and you will not have them because you don't have a monitor PC. So I just like to show things at the top. For example, frames per second, latency, and packet loss. I can see at the top, so I can see if they go down. But that's enough for consoles. So moving on to controller settings, and the controller I use is the Xbox Elite Series 2. This allows me to have scuff on the back of it, so I can have up to 4 paddles on the back. So if you don't use scuff or you don't use paddles, that's fine. I can still explain what's your best options, but I'd recommend getting them, or even buying the cheap version you can buy off like Amazon or something, and you can stick into the back of your controller, which gives you default scuffs. It'll take a little bit of time to get used to, but 100% helps your game, and it makes you wonder why you never used it in the first place. So the controller button settings I use is tactical, so I melee with B and I crouch and go prone with my R3, so I go straight down. When I use PlayStation controller, I used to do the same thing, tactical, but I used to swap my bumpers around. So I used to shoot with my top ones, my L1 and my R1, and I used to nade and flash with my lower R2 and L2. So that was because faster response with the PlayStation controller, you get faster response with the top. But then when I moved to this controller has built-in trigger, so you can go and actually modify your triggers so they go faster than they're meant to. So I have faster triggers on these. They shoot the exact same, and yeah, very good controller. I would recommend this controller. So moving down, your dead zone. If you don't know what your dead zone is, that's fine, and it's not the end of the world if you haven't fixed it or anything. But your dead zone is when you move your controller like so. You see this controller in my hand, I move it here, let it go, but your controller is still drifting, and you might not notice this in game, but let's say you're playing a game and you're actually shooting on someone, and then you're aiming a certain way, waiting for them to pop out, but for some reason your controller is kind of drifting away from that spot. That's not a good thing, especially for Warzone. When you're shooting over distance, you want to have pinpoint accuracy, and if this happens, you know it's going to cause you big problems. So how do we fix this is pretty easy actually. It's different for every controller, so don't take mine and write it down and go, oh, it's 0.08. It's not. It's just for this controller, that's what 0.08 is. It could be actually a little higher than that. I can't remember, I fixed that last. But the best way to fix this is go into a game, plunder, it doesn't really matter. Go into a game, pop on the map, and then when you put the map on, push your left analog some direction and then let it go. And if it's still going, flowing across your screen, that means it's too low. Come in here, as I will show you, and literally just up one, go back into the game, try it again, see if it fixes, and rinse and repeat this until your analog does not move after you let go. You might not think it's a big thing, but you don't want your dead zone. You don't want your analog moving on its own. It's just not good. Moving on to sensitivity. Sensitivity is one of the biggest things in Warzone, one of the biggest things in Call of Duty forever. It's like everyone needs to know what sensitivity is the best, what's going to give me the advantage, and you can see numerous videos on this and numerous different people giving their opinion on why theirs is better. And to be honest, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, definitely. I'm going to focus this on Warzone. Warzone is about consistency and accuracy over range. And if you want that, you want a lower horizontal and vertical sensitivity. It just makes sense. You don't want to be, you know, trying to micromanage. You can't micromanage this because you're on a controller. You're using analog sticks, which the response time isn't as fast as a mouse. So don't try be like a mouse player. Be like a controller player and benefit the rewards. 6 to 8 is probably my perfect range of sensitivity, especially with Warzone. The only reason I'm on 8 right now is because I used to use the R9 shotgun and I used to use the Kilo, but now because the meta is the FFAR and it's a really fast pushing gun and it's with the like M16 and the AUG, I've pushed it up to 8 because I want a higher sensitivity, because I want to be able to jump around in rooms quickly with the FFAR rather than going with a hip fire with the R9. It just makes sense, because if you're hip firing with the R9, you want to be more exact, and I don't want to spin by someone because them shots really matter with shotguns. So yeah. So your ADS sensitivity multiplier low and high zoom is dependent on 3.25 and above. So this is for anything below 3.25. So anything below would be like VLK on Modern Warfare weapons down and 3x times on the Cold War weapons down. So I zoom in at like a 0.9, so I don't go completely 100 with my zoom. If you want more precision and more slowdown with your ADS, put this down to 0.85 or something like that. That's what I do with that. And with the high zoom, I do 0.95 because when I do snipe, it's hard to follow people in helicopters and flying through the sky and all this stuff. So I want to try to keep up with them, or if you're in a vehicle, so I rather that to be higher. For me, 0.9, 0.95. They are my go-tos. That is what I use. Moving down to aim response curve and your aim assist type. These go hand in hand. And I'm going to explain why you should use one and why you shouldn't use some. I think the best one to start off with here is your aim assist. As you can see, aim assist has 4 different options. One you're never going to use. Don't ever use it. Disable aim assist. It just will not benefit you on a controller. You don't have the benefits of it having a mouse, which is more precise. Stay in your lane basically, and don't try something crazy like that because it's just not going to help you in the long run. Precision and focusing, I've done research on these, and to be honest, I wouldn't go for either because none of them have actually shown any benefits in the last few seasons, other than I think it was one of them helped out because it was broken, but they fixed that fairly fast. These both will just slow down when it meets the player's hitbox right in their chest, so that's not good, and I don't know why it's good for starting players. Standard will slow near the player, so it has a bigger hitbox and it'll slow down near them, helping you to slow down your aim and catch them faster. I've actually witnessed in one of my games where I'd be aiming at someone and my controller is starting to move itself, tracking the player, and I use standard. I would recommend standard. Stay with traditional. It is the best option. 100% stay with that. I've tested the other two and I did not like them. I tried precision before. It was actually kind of funny how I actually wrecked a few people, but then I started to miss a lot of people, especially close range where you were rushing people. I lost track of them very easily, and it's bad with a controller when you lose track of someone. I disable controller vibration because I don't want that to put me off during game. You leave it on if you want more immersive gameplay. Aim response curve type, dynamic is what I go with, and if you don't know what aim response curve type is, I can give you a rough idea, but I'm not going to go into technical terms because I wouldn't actually know how to go through it. What I know, and this is off my knowledge, and hopefully it comes across clear to you, is standard is when you aim with your analog, you aim left to right, it is a slower response. There's like a slow response. So if I went like this with my controller, that won't instantly happen in game. It's just the way it is, and it's the way standard works. But it will happen quickly enough, but not instant, not straight away. Like if I use my mouse, done straight away, fast response. But that just goes with standard. With linear, this gives you basically aim stick maps directly to aim rate. So that means what I'm trying to say there is it will go instantly to where you point it, instantly, straight away, straight across. Now that can turn out to be very, very bad for a controller player, because you could start going straight by people, not locking onto them because you're going too fast. So you might not want to run that. I'd recommend standard if you're just a casual player and that's what you go with. If you want to up your game a bit, I would recommend dynamic. It's what I've been using for the last 2 seasons now, and it has increased my gameplay incredibly. So dynamic is as it says, a finer aim rate control. It's faster than standard, but it's still not straight to the point, and it allows you to have a faster response time between you pushing your analog and you locking onto someone, especially when you have your standard hitbox, which is the bigger hitbox. So I recommend dynamic if you want that type of gameplay, or standard if you just don't want to, you're a casual player, you don't want to change your type of gameplay. But if you want to try something different, I recommend dynamic, and I'd stay on standard. There's no reason to go to precision, and there's no reason to go focusing. Moving on to scale assist with field of view. Scale assist with field of view only beneficial to anyone that has field of view enabled, which is again PC monitor. And this was brought in, and a lot of PC players went a bit angry about this because it actually allows controller players to have an advantage with field of view on PC now. Because when you've seen someone in the distance and they were so small with your field of view, and you looked at them and your hitbox was so big, now it's more precision and more precise with the enabled field of view scale aim assist. So people weren't happy with that. But as I said, if you do have a monitor, you do have a PC, and you play on controller, throw this on. It's going to help you long distance, 100%. It's amazing for controller players. Contextual tap. Now, if you don't use contextual tap, you are killing yourself in Warzone, and you're killing your team in Warzone, because contextual tap means instead of holding down this button here to pick up something, your X or your square on your controller, you just tap it, it picks it up instantly. It drop it instantly. If you keep tapping it, it'll keep picking it up, dropping it, picking it up, dropping it. For getting into vehicles, tap to get into a vehicle. If you're in a vehicle, hold it to reload. Don't press it because you'll just jump out of the vehicle. Armor plate behavior. Personal preference again. This can kill you sometimes, but I find that it's so helpful because, once again, I said I rush, and when I attack a load of people and they break my plates and I'm like, oh no, I slide cancel out of there, and I just press the plate button to plate up, which is triangle or Y, depending on your controller. And what it does is it will put all available plates onto my character while I'm running away. And this is probably how people get away from you so quick, and they're fully plated, and you're like, how are they fully plated again? It's probably because they have this on and it can move quickly. And the reason they can move quickly is because their slide behavior is tap, plus their automatic sprint is either automatic tactical sprint or automatic sprint. So if you see someone running along and they're sliding, they're jumping in the air, and they're running, they're sliding, they're jumping in the air, it's because they're doing a thing called slide cancel, and this increases your speed. And people do this all the time, and if it doesn't even increase your speed anymore, it's just a habit. And but as far as I know, it increases speed, and you can move and get away from people a lot quicker. Sometimes even Storm, you outrun Storm because you're doing this correctly. So what it is you put your slide behavior on tap, so you don't have to hold the slide. And then you got to move down, you got to put in automatic sprint. I started using automatic tackle as a sprint. This is literally, I will always move forward when I run, but I like this because I'm always moving, and I always like to push, and I'm moving quickly, and I'm just ahead of my team most times when I have this on. This can be very helpful when you sprint, because you don't have to keep clicking your R3 button. And if anyone has played COD for long enough, you know that this button will break. So if you want to save your R3 button, test out automatic tactical sprint. You'll move a lot faster. It just takes a little while to get used to it, and also it will also mess up your shotgun shots because you need to stop fully before you can shoot someone with hipfire shotgun. So guys, they're all the settings I can think of right now. If anyone has any other questions on different settings that I haven't covered, put them down in the comments below. I'll catch up with that. But for now, I think they're the best settings you can use in Warzone, and I think it will help you going forward into the new seasons as well. Hopefully you liked the video. Hit the subscribe button if you think it was good and you want to come back for something more. And thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.